to Utah County Let's Talk Real Estate. Today we're going to talk about great migration that we saw during the COVID years and how that's affecting us today. We're going to talk about some insider experiences, warnings, transformations, and just some moments in real estate that are truly of interest and heartwarming. So we'll just get started and talk about California and Utah and the influence those Californians have had Utah County and their residents. So during the COVID years, we had about 75,000 people move to Utah across the state. And a vast majority of those were Californians. And we're starting to see the Californians return to the California real estate market, which means that we're seeing a little bit of affordability. We're seeing some more homes come on the market, and homes are staying on the market a little bit longer. But if you're from Utah and you've been one of those people that's just been down and out thinking, man, all these people migrated to Utah and I'm not going to have an opportunity to buy a home, this is your opportunity. This is the time. There's some great new builder deals out there, especially on the interest rates. So we'll kind of go through some of that and the affordability changes. So because we're having quite a few people leave the area and return to California, some of their reasoning for returning is that their remote jobs are no longer remote and they want to get that California paycheck. And so it's time for them to return to the roots and their employment back in the state of California. So it does leave some great opportunity for those of us that love and live in Utah as far as affordability. We're going to talk a little bit about rural versus city living and buyer philosophy, as well as some behind the scenes real estate experiences. So we talked about why Californians are leaving, but what it's doing for our cost of living is it is making it a little bit affordable. We're not seeing a drastic dip in home prices, but we are seeing quite a few seller concessions, and that's incredible when you can get your closing costs covered or the seller to buy down your rate or even be a little better off when you do your inspections and are able to negotiate some repairs. So that's a great opportunity for those looking to buy, and it's a great opportunity for those looking to sell that want to see a similar like person enjoy the home that they maybe raised their children in or spent so much time in. So just got some great opportunities there. Remote work life has allowed a lot of people to live in rural areas, and it's continuing to do that here in the state of Utah. So we are a huge attraction in the state of Utah as far as people looking for safety, a moral compass, being close to our temples and our church buildings, and just feeling a great sense of community. I think it's really difficult to find a state that matches the state of Utah when it comes to the sense of community. We just do amazing with our Main Street America philosophy. We definitely got our rodeos and our fairs that unite us. It's just a great opportunity to feel that sense of community. So I think that's a huge attraction for people wanting to move to the state of Utah. So one of the things I said we'd mention today was some of the behind the scenes opportunities we have in real estate, and sometimes I don't necessarily call them opportunities. I think a lot of people think that a realtor shows homes, maybe negotiates a little bit of a contract and collects a check on closing day. So it's a little bit different adventure than that. And my 22 years as a realtor, 22 plus, we're pushing 23 now, I have had some tremendous opportunities to get some behind the scenes experience. And I thought I'd just talk about one of my behind the scenes stories that deals with closings possibly falling apart. So I was working in a fairly rural area, a newer neighborhood being developed, and we had a hard time with the power company connecting the power to the home. In fact, it became a 90-day wait, and we already had the house in contract. We had the buyer ready to go, but we were told originally that it would take 30 days by the electric company. And after about 35 days, our buyer became very frustrated, likely. I mean, we were happy to let him out of the contract, move forward, do something else, but she was upset, and so was her agent. I think she thought we weren't being honest about what was truly going on. The house was a new build. I was working with a developer, ready to go, ready for them to move in. The only thing we're waiting on was the electrical connection, and that drug out. Ended up being a total of 90 days, but in this process, the buyer became so frustrated and so upset that her and her agent would follow me around in the little community that I live in and wait for me to show homes to clients. And one day I walked outside a home that I was showing with clients, and they had signs and were protesting that I wasn't doing enough to get them in the house. And they were just saying horrible, just slurs about me that were awful. And I truly was doing all I could to work with the power company and get them in there. But you know what? I don't run the power company. I didn't have control of the situation. And so that became very, very difficult. They then followed around the developer and began attacking the developer to the point where the developer decided to leave the state for a period of time and not return until after close of escrow. It was just a tremendously stressful situation and not one of my favorite situations to be in. So it's a little more than just showing homes. There's definitely some negotiation that goes on, some things that are absolutely out of my control. You know, I can do all I can to work with the lenders and check with them along the process, but I don't control the lender. I don't control the title company. I advise them, I help them, I stay on top of things, but I absolutely cannot control them. And an electric company, who would ever thought that I would be in a situation where I'd be concerned that the electric company would get their work done and make connections to the homes that they had promised. So a little bit behind the scenes story about some of the just downsides that can happen in real estate. But I'm gonna tell you, day in and day out, it's pretty amazing when you get to a family to get in their new home, especially when they just needed more space and maybe they wanted a bigger backyard and a different lifestyle, and the excitement that they get. I recently had a family that moved from a dangerous neighborhood. This is one that's another good backstory that we can include that I learned in the process. This is a super recent situation. Normal inspections when purchasing a home is, you know, your roof, your pest, and your home inspections. And a lot of people just do the roof and home inspection and don't do the pest inspection. I highly recommend do all the inspections, do whatever you want. But in this particular case, this home was only 2 years old. And these buyers wanted to do a roof inspection, a pest inspection, a home inspection, a mold inspection, a meth inspection, and a sewer line inspection. And there were no trees in the front yard of this home or the surrounding homes. So I thought, that's kind of interesting. Hey, if you want to spend your money on it, you go ahead. And this was something I learned from. In this particular situation, doing all those inspections, they found slight traces of mold in a brand new home. But having mold is in almost every home. Going in and out, you're going to track it in and out. It's going to stay in your carpet. So there will be low levels of mold in every home. But there were some slight traces of mold, and the sellers did have indoor pets. So that was a little hurdle we had to get through. But one of the surprising ones is that they found moisture in the attic. And after doing the roof inspection, they found a small quarter-size hole in the sheeting under the roof tiles. So, you know, we don't see a lot of tile roofs in Utah, but this particular one did have tile, and that small hole in the paper under the tiles had created a leak in the attic. It wasn't a lot of moisture, but there was enough there to get them concerned and also consider maybe this is contributing to the mold. And then this one was the shocker for me. The sewer line. After paying the big expense to have the sewer line cameras sent down, in which I thought, a 2-year-old home, what's gonna possibly be wrong with the sewer line? Those pipes are gonna be broken, there's not any problems. There was a clog in the sewer line that cost about $1,600 to repair. So always learning, always seeing new things, developing, and it certainly helps me become a better realtor so that I can consult you in your transactions. Let's talk about what $500,000 buys you in different parts of the state of Utah. So currently sitting in an office in Payson, Utah, and $500,000 in Payson, Utah will buy you an older, modest-sized home with a basement that probably needs some updating, but is perfectly fine and can be move-in ready. And it's probably a little north of $500,000. As we move up the state, $500,000 is going to get us a much older home, probably with some repairs and problems that we need as we move up north into Salt Lake City. But then as we cross north of Bountiful, we'll see a little dip in those prices and we can get some more home for $500,000. In fact, all across that area, if you're looking for brand new, you can find brand new townhomes in that price range. And some of them have some incredible incredible builder rebates. The builders even offer better interest rates on the loans. There's some great opportunities there. If that's something you're interested in, I would love to help you out with that. But then as we get up towards the northern part of the state, Cache Valley area, we're gonna see a little bit of a dip in home prices, and you can probably get a really nice home. I don't work a whole lot in that area. I have referral agents that I work with, and I've been surprised to see how much home that my clients can get for $500,000. They can get a newer home, even up to 2,000 square feet I've seen. So that's pretty impressive. But as we go down the state and get closer to St. George, we're really having a hard time to find a decent condo. It's just a more expensive area. We've got a lot of new move-ins. It's a hot spot, and people tend to really love the St. George area. They love the heat in the wintertime. We even have a lot of people from central and northern Utah that move down there. Now, your bang for your buck price areas, actually look in Price, Utah. That's a great area to purchase a home in the $500,000 price range, even into like Richfield and Monroe and those areas. You can get a lot of bang for your buck in that area. Probably the most difficult area to find something for $500,000. I did look and find just under $600,000 in the Heber area. You can get a condo, and it is bare bones basic. It's, carpet throughout, smaller upstairs, downstairs condo unit. It is brand new, but it's very basic. You're even gonna see some 8-foot ceilings. So just to give you an idea how your money works throughout the state of Utah and what areas you might wanna be looking. I talk a little bit about the truth of small town living. So Utah is different than most states. So if you wanna move to Utah, there's some great opportunities because Utah allows commercial growth right along the residential. There's not nearly in the way of restrictions as some of the other states. And so we have a great opportunity that you can live rural in Utah and still be super close to grocery stores and a Costa Vida, pretty much all your fast food places, even a quick crack car wash. I live currently in Payson, Utah, and that would be considered a rural area. And although right across from my street from my home are horse ranches and fields where they're growing alfalfa, and I can see the blossoms for the apples and cherries up on the hills. So I've got lots of agriculture all around me. I have this beautiful rural living, and then I'm also 3 minutes to Walmart. I'm 3 minutes to your Costa Vida, Cafe Rios, get all those restaurants, fast food, quick crack car wash. And so that is really unique about Utah, is that they allow infrastructure to go in the rural communities and support those communities. So you can be more than just a bedroom community. There's actually work available in your community. That doesn't mean that for the high dollar jobs, you're not gonna have to commute because, not every community has a hospital. Payson does, but not every community has a, full size, full service hospital that's top notch. So if you're in the medical industry, you might have opportunities to work in clinics, but you might have to travel a little further for hospitals. Silicon Slopes is our Utah equivalent to Silicon Valley, and it's definitely got a denser population and of course, more opportunities where you're going to actually have professional theaters and maybe even some professional sports teams nearby. So that's a little bit of difference, and you just have to decide, what are you looking for? Are towns walkable? Absolutely. Almost everywhere in Utah County are walking trails. Now, are they walkable to the grocery store? That just depends on how long you want to walk. Definitely a little different than if you're living in Salt Lake City, where you've got, like Uber in just a few minutes if you're a person who doesn't want to own a vehicle. Highly recommend anywhere that you live in Utah County, I recommend that you own a vehicle. Unless you're one of those in the apartments at UVU or Utah State, that's way up north in Cache Valley, at BYU or one of our surrounding universities. So definitely there's some different opportunities there. So we do in our rural counties get to see a slower pace of life, and that's a great opportunity. There's a sense of community feel when you're in a rural county, but there is a lack of abundant shopping. We don't have, you got to go into Spanish Fork to find, a strip mall that's really got some decent shopping for you. And if you're in the Payson area, and then definitely nightlife. If you're looking for nightlife that's close by, rural living is not the place for you. So there's some of the pros and cons, and definitely why people love it. They love the peace and quiet. And the great thing about Utah County is you kind of got everything. We've got the dense population, and we've also got the rural population. So it's great that things are still close by, even though we have a tremendous opportunity for a quiet rural lifestyle. So let's talk about buyers right now. Why are buyers scared? What are their hesitations? What's going on? Well, interest rates. Interest rates have people on the sidelines, and they feel that the affordability is rough. And I think it's a great opportunity. If you can afford to get in a home at 6.5% interest rate, buy right now. Because when it's time to refinance, that's like giving yourself a raise year over year. As the rates go down, we're gonna see more people enter the market, and then we're gonna see the bidding wars again. And although as a realtor, when I've got a listing, I love those bidding wars, but when I'm working with a buyer, I wanna get them the best deal possible, and bidding wars don't necessarily lead to that. So our interest rates cause some difficulty. Although there are some new builders here in Utah County, some in Springville, some in Spanish Fork, Payson, Elk Ridge, that are offering lower interest rates. So the financing's done right to the builder, and they're offering, I've seen as low as the 3.9 range. So there's some great opportunities there. People are just uncertain with the economy, and so that's caused some buyer scarcity. And with the current wars throughout the world, it's just caused more unknown of what's going on, and it holds buyers back from getting in the market. And then, of course, media headlines. Media headlines hurt us so bad because so often they're not true. A lot of times it's just an opportunity for someone to put something out there that is going to get attention. It's your typical clickbait, and it's not necessarily true. So when you see something online and you kind of question it, or is it really that bad, please ask your local realtor. Get the truth. Find out what's really going on in your market. This is just a direct and honest video for the sellers out there, but you need to make sure your home is clean. It doesn't matter your lifestyle or what's going on. Nobody wants to move into somebody else's mess. So you need to absolutely make sure the home is clean and ready to go. Overpriced homes are sitting on the market right now. It's just a fact. We're seeing homes take a lot longer to get sold. And so make sure you're really dialed in to the price of your home. Consult with your realtor. Make sure they've got some comps to show you the evidence of why your home should be priced this way. And then let's do all you can to just get the home ready to go. Staging is super important in today's day and age. And people want to walk in a home and feel like they can move in. The days of the DIY where I'm gonna fix it up and make it my own home, they're over. People are just really wanting, the masses, not everybody, but the masses of people want something that's move-in ready to go, that they can enjoy. You need to make sure your expectations are set, and that if you're pricing your home not according to the recommendations of your realtor or the game plan your realtor has set up for you, then be ready to sit on the market a little longer and have control of the anxiety that goes along with that. Because it's difficult to have your home on the market and not have any showings. There's just no doubt about that. Presentation matters, pricing strategy, the pricing psychology, and definitely staging. But above everything, cleanliness. I absolutely cannot stress that enough. Cleanliness is more important than upgrades. So today we've talked about a range of the gamut in real estate, and I'm here to answer any of your questions. If you're just curious about some of the real estate experiences we have, a lot of times I share these stories so that it can set your expectations, what you might see as a buyer and seller. It can cause a lot of stress and anxiety, and it may not be your best, you may not show up as your best self during this time. And so I am here to guide you, direct you, help you know what to do so that we can eliminate as much stress as possible. Experience matters in this business, and definitely find a realtor who's got experience in multiple situations. Make sure that they haven't just been a realtor for a long time, but that they've actually been active in the real estate market and selling an abundance of homes year over year. I'm here to help you. My name is Tammy Goolsby. My number is 209-332-0118. You can email me at tammy.goolsby@cbrealty.com. Again, that's tammy.goolsby@cbrealty.com. And you can look me up at movemetothehive.com. We're here in the Beehive State, and we want to move you to the hive, upgrade you or downgrade you, or do whatever we can to help your living situation be the best that it can. I want you to love where you live.